Alright boys, I got a brand new Void 3.0 build with the Warlock. I'm having tons of fun playing Witch Queen, so I just want to put this build out there real quick and then get right back to the grind. So let's go ahead and jump right in. So for our aspects, we're using Child of the Old Gods, and we're also using Feed the Void. Now what Child of the Old God does is when you use your Rift, you summon a black hole, which then when you shoot an enemy, it flies to the enemy, it starts like siphoning energy out of them, it also weakens them. Now if you're on Healing Rift, it actually gives you grenade and melee energy in return. And if you're on Empowering Rift, it gives you health in return. And if you defeat the targets that are being siphoned by the actual void soul or the black hole, I like to call it black hole, it sounds way cooler, you actually get class ability energy in return. Feed the Void is pretty much Devour when you used to consume your grenade, but now if you just get a void ability kill, it actually procs Devour, which then gives you full health upon kill, and it also gives you grenade energy and it extends the duration of Devour. As for our fragments, you're using Echo of Remnants, Echo of Expulsion, Echo of Provision, and Echo of Persistence. As for my weapons, I'm using a weapon with Wellspring, which is really important for this build because this is a high ability uptime build, so I want to feed into that more. Of course, if you want to use something that does a little bit more damage, feel free, but I personally love weapons with Wellspring. I'm also using a Blinding Nades grenade launcher, and I'm using Gallahorn. I have 100 recovery and 100 discipline, and I am using Necrotic Grips. Boys, I cannot stress just how good this exotic pairs with the new Pocket Singularity melee attack. Now what that melee attack does is it sends out a tracking, and I mean tracking. I've seen this thing curve back behind me. If an enemy is jumping over me, it'll curve back behind you and get that enemy. It makes them volatile, it pushes them away, and then since you're using the Necrotic Grip, it puts that poison effect on them, which will allow them to take extra damage, which will then blow up that volatile like energy on them, which will then spread to other enemies. Actually, I don't know if it spreads to other enemies, but it'll explode and cause other enemies to take extra damage. And then of course, the Necrotic Grip poison will explode as well, and then spread that to other enemies. This exotic, I've been using it the whole time, and I love it. I love it so much with this new subclass. Now moving on to the mods, and I'm only going to list the most important mods for this build. So first up, I'm using Seeking Wells, which goes on an Arc armor piece. I'm using Bolstering Detonation, which goes on a Void Arms armor piece. I'm using Well of Utility, which is again another Void mod. Heavy Handed, which is an Arc mod. Elemental Charge, which doesn't have an affinity to it. 2 stacks of Outreach, which is an arc, it goes in the class item. And I'm also using Elemental Ordnance. Again, it doesn't have any type of elemental affinity to it. So the gameplay loop looks something like this. I throw a grenade out on a group of enemies, hopefully I get them to die from the grenade, which will also proc Devour and spawn a Void Elemental Well. With Seeking Wells, that Void Elemental Well will then track to me, which I'll become Charged with Light, and I'll be able to proc Heavy Handed, which gives me half of my melee energy in return when I use it while charged with Light. I also proc Well of Utility by picking up the Void Elemental Well, and I get those Void Elemental Wells because I'm getting grenade kills with Elemental Ordnance. After I throw out my melee attack, you can kind of throw it out whenever. I typically use my Rift, or I throw my grenade out and then use my Rift, and then shoot an enemy, so that way the black hole or the Child of the Old God aspect, the Void Buddy, goes to that enemy, and I throw my melee out. Hopefully they die. If not, the melee will then put the Necrotic Grip poison and make them volatile, which then if I do enough damage, they'll explode if they die, which will then spread that Necrotic Grip poison onto other enemies, and then the volatile explosion will do extra damage to surrounding enemies. Like literally, you can use this build however you want, as long as you have a grenade ready. You throw a grenade and get a kill to proc an elemental well. You can kind of do whatever you want from there, whether you want to throw your melee out because you're already charged with light, or use your Rift to summon a black hole, shoot an enemy, then use your melee. But it's a high ability spam build, and everything explodes because of the fragments I'm using, and it looks really cool, it's really powerful, and I'm having a lot of fun, boys. You have to try this build. But if you like this content, definitely stay tuned for more. I'm gonna get back to the grind because I want to unlock some more stuff, level up. I'm also getting ready for the day 1 raid, so hope to see you guys on my next video. Deuces!